You speak as though I have conquered death. I live death every day. I am surrounded by it, smothered by it. Look at you now. He would have everlasting life. You seek to defy death, yet you cannot even defy sleep. And our like sleep is to death. It is a painted death.
Battle Brick, Battle Brick, Battle Brick Road. The Battle Brick Road to 100K begins now. You're not in Kansas anymore. Wait, what? Eric Weathers literally lives in Kansas? The Battle Brick Road to 100K. You're not in Kansas anymore. But Eric Weathers is. Be a part of it. Let's make it happen. The Battle Brick Road to 100K. We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge. Battle Brick Road, only on Indiegogo.
Hey everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to Shant and Jetty Art. Welcome to the Waffle Lodge and a very special episode today. I'm going to be doing a interview with Eric Weathers, one of my CG Team brothers who hosts a show on his channel, of course, CG Team on Tuesdays, and he also does another show with amazing creator Von Klaus, which is on Fridays, I believe. It is Gentlemen Scoundrels. He's got a great YouTube channel, so if my mods can drop that in the chat, that would be great. And right now, he is shipping and fulfilling his amazing book, Battle Brick Road. And it is top-notch production value, great work, great story, an incredible artist who has probably lettered every single book in Comicscape. Okay, maybe not every single book, but I wouldn't be surprised if he told me he lettered the Constitution of the United States of America. He is that busy. He is ever present. But before we get started, before I bring him in here, let me see who's in the chat. Let me say hello to you guys. Now, when I do these interviews, something to remember is I'm always going to keep my eye on the chat, guys. I'm always going to do my best. But the main thing is to focus on the creators so that if you're at work and if you're, on a job site or if you're in the office, hopefully if you're not operating heavy equipment that you really need to pay attention to, you can sit back and listen to this, and so that you can listen to it later and we can get the word out about all of the amazing stuff that's happening in CG. I find these interviews are really great for people to, kind of come into and find out who these creators are, learn about them. But at the same time, when I've been doing these interviews, I did one with Narwhal, I did one with Michael Bancroft. I'm amazed at what I find out, about different creators, what books they like, what were the things they were into that I didn't know, even though we've had at this point hours of conversation. So let's see who we've got here in the chat here. We've got Stephen Rockwood Drawing. It's great to see you, my friend. We have got the Admiral in the chat. Tip of the hat to you, my friend. Yeah, right when you're going into work. That's right. Well, listen, this is going to be evergreen, so you can come back and listen to it if you need to. Good morning to you, of course, Scottsley. Hail and good morning to you, Scottsley. How are you doing? It's great to have you with us here. We have got the groomsman, one of my groomsmen. I've mentioned you on a few streams to my friend Eric, who is the reigning and defending champion of best men, or being a best man. He is the best man. That's how we see it. There's Shant and Jetty. What is that lunatic doing in the chat? J-Bot Art, it is great to see you, my friend. And let's see, we've got Past Master Dan starting early. Not used to that. Don't worry. The trailers make us late. Let's see here, John. So there's no checkerboard pattern on the thumbnail. Is the Waffle Lodge open? There's no checkerboard pattern because that is the custom pattern of Battle Brick Road, people. Whenever I do these interviews, I change the thumbnail logo so that it shows something that, at least as close as I can approximate, references the work of the creator I'm going to be interviewing. I love doing that stuff. And yeah, dropping links in the chat. Thank you guys so much. We're doing great things here, and I'm really excited to get a chance to talk to these creators because these guys are friends, but there's so much more that I learn about them when we get a chance to do this. Big Boy Robo, great to see you. Let's see who else we've got here. We've got John Scottsley. Let me see if I missed anybody else. I'm sure I'm going to. We've got Cranberry Langers. What is up, Cranberry Langers? Tip of the hat. John, of course, is always here. It's great to see you, my friend. Always appreciated, and I think Green Laser is here. You guys are awesome. Whenever I say get the link out, it's like all of a sudden I think I've got everybody. Son of Liberty Radio, absolutely. I'm only halfway here. That's right. I'm only halfway here too. Odin is here as well. I was just talking to Eric before we started here and telling him that there is construction outside of my house. He may have thunderstorms become hell or high water. We are going to be here for you guys. Odin, it's great to see you. Green Laser again. Let me see. 40% Zed. There you go. That's right. 40% Zed. And, of course, we've got that name is very close, I believe, right, to Zeb Hatfield, who is our writer on Battle Brick Road. So we're going to be talking about all those kinds of things, too. Immortal Tomato. God, I love the chat. The chat's a beautiful thing. It's great to have you here, Immortal Tomato, although it could be Immortal Tomato. Roger Ryder, we've got here, and let's see who else we have here. Good. I think that is everybody, so we can end the broadcast. No, we don't need to do that. I'm going to bring in the man of the hour, my main man, my can of spam. It's all about money. Eric Weathers. Let's see here. Eric, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I am so glad that we're able to do this stuff. I was talking after my stream last night with Gabe about these creator interviews and how fun they are because there's things that I know. For example, I know you don't like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We've discussed that.
Correct.
And not a huge fan, much like myself. I don't want this to become, like I don't want to. There's a lot of drama. People try to start drama on these kinds of things, and I want the questions to be much more deep and enriching. And so that having been said, I wanted to ask you if you could only save John Malin or Cecil, who would you choose? And follow up, why is it John Malin?
It's John Malin because without John Malin, I don't have a career in Comicsgate.
Beautiful. Gosh, why do you have to make it all so nice after that? This is the
true.
Tai Chi master of slipping the horse pucky, as we say. But this is the thing that kind of interested me in terms of doing this stuff, because you said it on the last CG team stream, the 10,000 hours right to overnight success. That miracle tonic that isn't hard work by any means. It's just luck. But I have to ask this question. What are your earliest memories of drawing? Have you been drawing since you could hold a pencil? Like, when did this whole making art thing start for you?
I believe it has always been there. At least that's the yarn that my mom. What do you do with the yarn? I don't know. There's an idiom there that I'm completely blanking on. Anyways, the yarn my mom spins. That's the word.
There it is. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of I've always drawn. I've always been interested in art. I was the doodler in class, and I doodled so much I was better than anybody else. I was that kid.
Nice.
If the assignments were to get the poster board drawing thing, they would always ask me to do it for them. I've always been there, drew, copied, I had like Ninja Turtles coloring books, and I'd copy the artwork out of there or out of my comic books. And I've just always drawn. I mean, I feel like a lot of us are kind of like that, where we just sort of always been doodling or scribbling in some way. I kind of like look at it as me just sort of doodling. I don't think of it as artwork. Sometimes it's just doodles. I've managed to turn these doodles into something that works pretty well for me, so that's good.
Yeah, I think most people who think of what they do as artwork have been responsible for some hideous offenses on aesthetics. So it's probably a good thing. You just do the work as you create it. But
Yeah.
you were mentioning Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and one of the things I'm always curious about with people, because I find that sometimes it goes how I expect, or how I would think it would go, and it's similar to mine. Sometimes it's not. But when was the first time you got a comic book, or you got into you saw a comic book and you were like, I'm into this, I'm a fan? Was it with Ninja Turtles, or was it animation, or was it not comics at that point?
It certainly was around comics. I never like grabbed one from the rack and was like, this is my life now. It was I've never had that epiphany. The thing for me is it was the superheroes were sort of it. And I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, so it was like the cartoons were on all the time. So it was X-Men animated series, it was Batman the animated series. On the way on the bus to and from school, we would trade Marvel cards. I mean, nobody had DC cards. We had Marvel Series 1, 2. You had the Masterworks and all of these different trading cards, and you'd trade back and forth, or you just show off your friends. Oh, I got the hologram. So I was in it like that, and the action figures. It was all around the comics. It wasn't the comics. It wasn't the comic books themselves. It wasn't necessarily the stories themselves. As I got older, and it was like, I think I can draw for a living, and I was looking. I mean, I had comics, but I wasn't collecting them. Not in the sense that I was like, I have to get the next issue, or I have to get, because it was one. If there were comic book shops in my town, I didn't know about them. Because we grew up in a suburb of Wichita, and there was nothing around outside of the local grocery store or spinner rack, which they used to have back then. So, and then just friends with their
Yeah.
comics, and at some point I realized, oh, I this is a human being drawing this, and I started copying out of whatever comics I had, and that was too hard to do, because I would I would, even at what, 8 years old or 10 or 12 or however old I was like, I can't draw as good as these guys. I don't want to do it anymore, but I would still stick to it. I'd get really run down by it, but at some point I decided that the only way that I could make comics was to cut up my comic books and rearrange them into different things. So I ruined probably a lot of uh, first edition, like probably McFarlane Spider-Man, that kind of stuff. I probably cut those up to make collages of my own comics back in the day. I didn't really know that they could be worth anything or anything like that. I was just in love of the art. It was, let me just play with it.
So I have to point this out. I I often worry that my romantic view as an educator with a history in education, I should say, but somebody who got into education because I like to teach people or I like to help people, to be honest, is the real thing, and like to meet different kinds of people. That my belief that I'm always going to learn something about an artist that is going to be incredibly informative in these interviews. I go, now if someone's going to say, well, I just went to the store, I bought some comic books, and that was that. And already, you've told me something I have not heard from a CG creator before that I find utterly fascinating. That you saw comics and your creative process and thinking about it in your early stages, you were like, I'm going to cut these panels out and
Yeah.
arrange them. If that isn't a glimpse into so many amazing aspects of how your brain works and how you view things, I don't know what is. That's the coolest thing to me I've ever heard. I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
heard anyone else in
Really?
CG ever say that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people in CG are like, yeah, I saw the Ninja Turtles. I got the thing, and it opened my, changed my life. It wasn't like that for me. Um,
Mhm.
I don't have big moments like that outside of like marriage and kids being born. I don't have like,
Yeah.
pop culture doesn't um, hit me as much as I think it hits other people. So like it doesn't. Definitely influential, and I like things that I like, but I don't um, put things like that up on a pedestal and say this was what changed my life. This is the biggest inspiration for me, because I think I just draw it from so many different places that maybe there's
Yeah.
just not just one. You know, getting hit by the what light, like in Blues
Mhm.
Brothers. Um,
Yeah.
it's just sort of a slow drip for me. It's never been a heavenly ray of light from James Brown's Cleophas James. I'm trying to reference Blues Brothers, and I can't remember the name of the church, but there you go.
Hey, listen. It's all right. Our
All
memories,
right,
as you know, for these things and calling these things up on the spot is a whole nother kettle of fish. But
it
it's
really is.
it this is the thing that is sort of fascinating to me because when you talk about your art, you tend to bring in um, this aspect of it that is probably foreign to a lot of when people are talking about their artwork and intellectualizing it, which is it seems to me that what you're basically saying is that you find yourself very inspired by being around people and a little bit of life, getting some life in there,
Yes.
family,
Yeah, I mean,
relationship,
there's
your
definitely that.
church, tornado
Yeah.
attacks. you
Tornado
know,
attacks, missed opportunities for great promotion when there's a tornado in the background in real
oh my
life, not
gosh.
CG, and you have a Battle Brick Road. I was probably wearing this shirt, and I had the book in my car, and I didn't think to put two and two together. That's a
Mhm.
that's a problem. That was a big failing. I'll always have to look back on that and regret that I didn't. I don't know. Try to get it caught maybe in the debris cloud. Something.
So when you're
But
a
yeah,
perfectionist, right? I think that there's so many opportunities for regret. But at the same time,
Yeah.
sadly, Eric, we're here to talk, a little bit about the celebration that is your incredible work. But no, I think that's the thing that interests me when you talk about your work. And you talk about things you're passionate about, whether it's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles art. You seem to be somebody who is very passionate about other artists, very
Oh
enthusiastic
yeah.
about other people's work, but
Yeah.
primarily what you do in your life and your I was telling you the other night, and I think it's really true that you're one of those artists and creators in CG who basically embodies still waters run deep, and you really are thoughtful and conscientious in what you do. And at the same time, you do this work that has this absolutely outstanding vitality. This is my copy of Battle Brick Road, and it's incredible to me that when I look at this work, you had sent me some files a while back so that I can continue my insane promotion of Battle Brick Road, which I love. And I went to go look at the cover art that you had sent me, and you had sent me the Kenneth Rocafort cover, and you didn't even send me your own cover in with those batches of images. And I just thought, what is happening here, man?
It may
What
have
is
been a
this?
mistake. May have been an oversight on my part.
Yeah, there you go. But I
I,
love that though, because it speaks to sort of your humility. But rest assured, you won't be able to hide for long. I'm going to have to praise you at this point. But go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
You
Well,
know.
I as you know, I'm really good at taking compliments.
Exactly. Well, someone
Yeah.
asked me one time about my studio mate. They said, "You always talk about him. He's a polymath. He has all these brilliant things. Is there anything this guy can't do?" I said, "Sure, take a compliment. He can't do that. He's terrible at it." And you
Yeah.
were talking about the X-Men trading cards. You were talking about those
Mhm.
sort of heydays. And I'm sure when you talk about the X-Men cartoon, you can hear that theme song, playing in your
Oh yeah.
head,
Yeah.
and all of that sort of stuff. But what interests me is when I look at Battle Brick Road and I look at this team dynamic that you're setting up. Have you always been someone in your stories who was more attracted? You've talked. I don't want to out you here, but you do in fact love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
I do.
and shockingly, right? You
Yeah.
like the X-Men, and if I'm not mistaken, also the Lord of the Rings movies and those
Yeah.
bonus features and all the cool stuff there. Is the team dynamic something that you've always been attracted to in the stories that you like?
I guess it has, hasn't it? I don't there are singular characters that I do enjoy, but I like them because of because of who they are
Hmm.
in their team, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I never really gravitated towards singular characters in terms of when I was reading comics. I was just buying X-Men. I was buying, Wildcats, and I wasn't out grabbing Spider-Man or Daredevil or Punisher. It wasn't the single guys. It was the teams. I guess I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, I guess you're cracking open you're peeling back the onion here. Look at
So
you.
tell me about your mother. No, the thing about it is, see, whenever I say that now, all I can think of is the interview in Blade Runner. So I don't want to go down that road. I want to live
Yeah, let's
there.
not do that.
But this is the thing, right? Is that you know? Did you? I mean, I'm just curious because I've when Gabe talks about, he's like he played sports and all that kind of stuff. Were you into
Mhm.
sports as a kid, or what were your main interests when you were growing up, or were you just kind of
I
I don't
did
know.
sports. You did little league, did t-ball and some little league baseball there. Tried out football in middle school and decided that when it was time to go to high school, I didn't want to play football with on the same team as the seniors.
Mm,
I felt that I would have been absolutely demolished, and it's smart on me to do that. Um, I I was in the army, so there's some physical fitness there, and when you're running around with 60 pounds of gear, so I did that. My dad would always say that I had the aptitude for it. I was a very athletic kid. I just never had the drive
mm.
to be any sort of sports person. I don't have any interest in it. I don't watch sports. I don't. Yeah, no, not really. It was always for me growing up. It was just play pretend in the front yard. We were pretending to be the X-Men. We'd do the action figures, and then as you got older and everybody got Sega Genesis, we were just, playing Mortal Kombat and Tomb Raider and all of this stuff. So it's very much like pseudo nerdy, just like not book nerdy. I didn't read. I still don't read. I collected things that just sort of make me happy, I guess. I like to look at,
Yeah,
it's
right?
artwork. It was all about the artwork,
Mhm.
and just things that looked cool. And it was all about as we have said when talking about Vaughn's creative process, the rule of cool. I think
Yeah.
I may not walk in those same shoes, but I definitely admire it. And I just like cool stuff.
You've got some old school fans, you got some new school
Yep.
backers here. The book is, guys, I can't overstate. The book is absolutely beautiful, and I want to say this too when we're talking about this stuff. So you talked about it. I don't want to start a political battle here in the chat, but you said you played X-Men with your friends. Which X-Men character were you most drawn to be?
Wolverine or Gambit.
Heck yeah.
I know you
Tells me
wanted
a
me to
lot.
say Psylocke or Rogue, but
No, I
it's
mean
Wolverine
that's
or
mine.
Gambit.
I'm not gonna. I don't
Yeah.
want you to have my choices.
Yeah.
I see myself as Rogue, in the Savage Land, and frankly, if
Oh
people
yeah.
don't appreciate
Yeah.
how I identify, then I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah.
But
We did that. We
and
did a lot of make believe like that. Did you do that growing up? I remember.
yes,
I don't. My kids will run around, but I don't. I guess they don't have that. Those cartoons aren't around anymore, right?
Mhm,
I mean, they're there, but there aren't cartoons like that. So we don't have
sure,
stuff like that going where they're running around saying, yeah, I shot you. No, I shot you first. I have a force field, so it didn't count.
yes,
Uh, yeah,
yeah. Force field. What is
yeah.
that?
It's
Try that. Try that in
it's not
boxing or the
wanting to
NBA.
be.
Right?
It's
Force
not
field. Do
wanting to be
over.
fake shot. You don't want to be the one that was fake
Yeah,
shot because that means you lost, and you can't lose,
yeah.
even in pretend X-Men fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to point out to What About, who says I can see Shanth with Rogue's body. Let me tell you something. Below here, and actually even above here, is a horror show of
We know,
anatomical regret. But the
we know.
thing, the
Yeah,
thing I want to say this too
you
is
can
is
see it
that
in your eyes.
you can see it absolutely.
Yeah,
It's the abyss has looked into my eyes and seen me looking back at it, as they say, or as I say. But
this is the mirror.
so you were in the army, right? And
Uh huh.
when did that start? And how was that in terms of your art and your creativity?
Let's see. I was in college in 01, 02. Or
Hmm.
so, no, 02. I graduated in 2002, so I wouldn't have been in college in 01. Yeah, so I was in graduated in 02, went to college. As you know, in the world, things were
Hmm.
happening back in 2001,
Yes.
2002, 2003, and I I was looking at the military with that romanticism or whatever. I was looking at it
Hmm.
idealistically, and Band of Brothers was out, and I was like, yeah, this is great.
Hmm.
Brotherhood, camaraderie, all of that nonsense. And well, it's not nonsense, but so I'm in college. I'm doing graphic design, and it's not drawing. And what I thought was weird. So graphic design students aren't necessarily artists, and that was the
Hmm.
first time that I had discovered that.
Huh.
Because there were times when, I mean, most of the time in graphic design, you're using Illustrator. I think
Hmm.
right before then, I think Quark was there. Whatever the other
Yep.
vector
Oh,
program.
geez, the dark
Right
times.
before I started was when Illustrator was became the standard,
Hmm.
and you start doing all these different projects. But again, it was just like it was in high school. Anytime drawing needed to be done, they would go to me. I'm like, aren't you, this is art. This is the art department.
Yep.
You guys know how to draw. What are we doing here? So
Hmm.
so I did that, but then it was like, oh, I have to actually pay tuition. The scholarship was only for so long, and all of that. So I looked for work,
Hmm.
and there were certain jobs I didn't want to do, and so like I didn't want to work in fast food again and things like that. So I couldn't get a job. So then a recruiter came by and they were doing remember they had the America's Army game and they had a thing in the library at the college and they were doing a recruiting thing. And I thought, okay, I can do this. I can join the Army. I've watched Band of Brothers. I know what to expect. So I did. I said I was going to do it. And then over Christmas break, I think summer break after the first year. Yeah. Something like that. I actually called my local recruiter and said, hey, I want to join, which apparently nobody ever does.
That's right.
Ever at all. Like I was the first person to ever call in and say, hey, I'd like to join the Army. So yeah, I did that. I mean, obviously art kind of takes a side step when you're going through basic and you go to your unit, you're doing all this training and stuff, but it was always there. I mean, I was always doodling. And again, the guys in the barracks would be like, hey, can you design my tattoo? And all that. That's just how it is when you're an artist and other people around you aren't artists. They want you to design their tattoos.
Right.
But I would draw, and I started doing, I actually had an old blog back then that I was working on as like, this is me learning how to draw. I've always done it publicly. Yeah, I mean, it was just like that. It was like Loomis books and Hogarth, like trying to learn anatomy. Cause I always wanted to do comics. And then it wasn't until, I get out of the Army, go back to college, decide this isn't for me. So I'm a 2-time college dropout. I like to be the reigning champ there. And then just got design work and then just regular job stuff. And then I started working on my comic book stuff. And that's where Flying Fortress came in.
So let me just kind of, if I can backtrack a little bit. So you were saying that you'd worked in fast food, right?
Yeah.
Whereabouts? What kind of fast food places?
Just McDonald's. Yeah.
Oh, so nothing like Poe, Poe focuses at fast food, but I'm always hoping I'm going to find somebody who has a real rich connection with that stuff. And so you had a lot of different things you were doing, and I'm just curious, what was the appeal or the interest with graphic design as a focus? Because that doesn't surprise me. When you're talking about cutting up comic books and arranging the layout and how one's mind thinks. My wife is a graphic designer. Saul Bass, one of the greatest storytellers, graphic designers of all time, famously said the advice he would give to design students was to learn to draw. And you had that drawing ability, and you're masterful with type. But was that something that, did you do it on a lark? Like, I guess I'm a graphic designer.
It was a bit. Yeah, I would say it was a bit on a lark because we took the tour, right? You go to your senior year and you go to do your portfolio review and see if you can get a scholarship. And I got a silver award, and we're touring the art department. And I'm not an artsy guy. I'm a regular dude. I don't like the art talk. That whole artist scene, it doesn't vibe with me. So you go to the drawing class and you're watching the painting class, and there's just a bunch of hippies there, and it's like, that's the way I talk. And I'm like, these people are kind of, they talk weird and they smell. No, it just wasn't the right, like, I like to draw, but I'm just like I just want to hang out too. Like, it just didn't seem like they were my kind of people. And then you go to the graphic design department, and it was a completely different vibe. It was like normies, and I'm a normie. And you walk in this room, and it's wall to wall. Back then, the brand new IMAX with the first ones that were the flat screen. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And then there's a refrigerator in the corner where there's like food. And I'm like, this is what it must be like to be a video game developer. So then it was like this, I wasn't thinking about the art. I was thinking about the whole experience. And I can draw, and I can learn to draw. And I've always taught myself how to draw, which is why it's taken me so long, because I'm my only teacher. So it was about the experience. Like, oh, I could just get to sit and do this design thing. And there's a refrigerator with like, vanilla Starbucks lattes and Pocky and some yogurt cups. And like, all right, I can do this. This seems like fun. And it was around computers, and I've always been a sort of a techie computer guy. So I don't know if that's how you want to call it. That sounds like somebody who doesn't know about computers would call themselves a techie computer guy. But, I was into building my own systems, and then I was seeing this room full of computers and understanding like it's still artwork, it's still creative. And,
Yeah.
it just was cool. And if, again, if it looks cool, I'm like, all right, that over there, that looks cool. Let's go over that. Let's go that way. So
you sadly look up from your desk and outside of your own head for inspiration in the actual world. That's terrifying. How can we avoid living such lives and touching grass, so to speak?
I can't tell you. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So this is the thing for me, and about when you've talked to me previously about your work. So you didn't have that epiphany moment where you saw comics and you said, all right, I'm a comic book artist. This is what I need to do with my life. You were an artist. You knew you were an artist, but or maybe you didn't know, but you were. Sorry to inform you, in case you haven't looked back and done that analysis, that level of analysis. I hate to break it to you, but the data's in. But so you're an artist and you're not finding anything at that point where you're finding people that maybe are similar to you. You have this great experience with imagination when you're a kid coming up, but at a certain point, this stuff leads you to comics, which as we mentioned before was the day before you launched Battle Brick Road. No sooner than that.
Never
overnight
before.
Success. Yeah. When did that? Yeah. So when did that happen? When did that jump happen?
Well, I mean, if we backtrack a decade and a half, when I am 16, 17 years old, there was this moment, because I had just gotten the internet, not just, but it was like there was this mystical thing around comics that did draw me in, but it wasn't like I have to know what happens to Doctor Strange in the next issue. It's I have to know what the next book that Jim Lee drew looks like. I have to know what the next book that Brett Booth looks like. It was always, and still to this day, is about the artwork. Say what you will, I don't care if the story's good or not. If I'm engaged with the artwork, I'm buying the comic book. I have said this in the past that I don't read comics, and it's true. I don't read comic books. I look at comic books. I go into every panel and every detail and look at how they've drawn this and how they've drawn that. I love the art of sequential storytelling. And ironically, I don't care what the word balloons say, because to me, it's about what this artist does and how they make this character, again, look cool. And it just inspires me. And I would I had in my parents' house, they still live there, but when I was a kid growing up, it was a much larger house than what we needed after my brother had moved out. So I had the basement all to myself. So there was like a family room in the basement. There was a bedroom with an attached bathroom at one end, and another end was an empty room that was just kind of storage. And so my parents they let me turn that into my own art studio. And so I had my computer in there. I had all my Wizard magazines, because again, it was all about the art, and they only showed the good stuff in there. And I just focused on wanting to learn how to draw. And then I realized I had this tendency, when it's time to get busy and get to draw and get to work, that I look for anything else to do. So I would clean a lot. So I have that. I love that. Yeah, my procrastination turns into I can't get started until things are tidy, which is ridiculous. Because when I'm actually working, when I get in the zone, it's a train wreck out. It's dare I say, like a tornado hit. But in that time when it's like, okay, let me sit down and because it's like I need to learn anatomy. Well, it's fun at first, but you had to make it fun. So it was like I'm copying. I went through, my old X-Men comics, and it's like, I'm going to learn how to draw hands. So I just go through every panel and just copy the way, Jim Lee drew hands or whoever, and then just do that over and over again. So that drive, like in this during this time, there was this, I don't know how to describe it other than some inner fire that I could not describe. I couldn't, other than it just being this all-encompassing drive. This is what I have to draw comics. And then, again, I didn't read them, but I had to draw them.
Yeah.
So I just put my effort towards that. And, I don't know why I went into graphic design outside of that. But again, it's that rule of cool. So there's those two sides, the tech side of me that wanted to be in the computer thing and, have the latest software and all of that. But then the other side of me is like a pencil and a piece of paper is all I need. So now I've merged the two together. I work digitally, but yeah. So that comic book thing was always there, but it wasn't necessarily, again, me following the stories and get excited. And this is what I would do with this character. It's like, no, those are for writers to do. I'm not a comic book writer, Yeah. I wanted to be a comic book artist. I want to just bring these characters to life. And then as I started doing it, I just started with Flying Fortress, which I co-wrote. I started to realize, I don't want to do these characters. I don't want to draw the X-Men or whatever. I want to draw my stuff. So that's where the change happened. We start. I went from wanting to be that guy that drew X-Men to that guy that was like, no, I can do this on my own. I can just make up my own characters and my own stories and all of that. Because, while I don't, it's not that I never read comics. Obviously I read them, but that wasn't my primary focus, but you pull stories from movies and things like that. And it's like, well, I like this and this and that. Let me mix these together and see what comes out of this blender. And that's what Flying Fortress was. It was like this, the very, very germination of it back in 2009 was, hey, zombies we're starting to pick up then. I forget when Walking Dead started, but it wasn't to the fever pitch. And I mean the comic, not the show. It hadn't reached its fever pitch yet. It wasn't everywhere, but it was just sort of getting started. And I thought, I like zombies, but I like World War II. So let me put zombies in World War II. And, well, I can't do, I don't just want to have a bunch of soldiers just mowing down zombies. That's not interesting. I want them to be on the run. So, well, they're in World War II. Okay, well, pilots, they would have a sidearm, but that's about it. And then it just sort of morphed into what Flying Fortress became. So I don't know. I lost track of what I was saying, but
no. Listen, whatever. This is the interesting thing about wanting to actually learn about other people than myself. It's a weird phenomenon. I know. I know you're very much the same way with talking to people about this stuff. But I want to you're talking about 2009. For those of you guys who don't know, and Flying Fortress. I know a little bit about it. But it seems kind of interesting to me while you were talking about, I want to create my own thing. I want to make my own stuff. I don't know if I want to be that guy on X-Men. You grew up, imagining worlds with your friends and doing this kind of stuff. Did you always imagine when you did comics? I know you have, you're working on and creating Battle Brick Road with your writer, Zeb Hatfield. Was that always in your mind? Do you like, because you're probably one of the most vital team members of most Comicsgate projects that are there. You're one of so you've been a team member for so many people in CG, and a vital one at that. And then when I think about, if I recall correctly, that Flying Fortress was a project you were also collaborating on. Is that a very engaging and important part of your process as an artist? Is to work with others?
Working with others to me is the best way that I can create, because I have this need to bounce ideas off of people. And to take in, like, that's a great idea, let's do that. And then you start working like, oh, but what if instead of this, they do that? And then you just build this fun story. Again, it's that whole finding that cool thing. What's the coolest thing that they could do? And I don't just mean like walking away from an explosion wearing sunglasses, but just like what would entertain me the most? What would be the best thing to happen? And working collaboratively for me is the bee's knees. It's the
Yeah,
cat's pajamas. Sorry
absolutely.
to use such harsh language on the show, but
We'll
um,
censor that later. We may have
I
some young people in the audience,
yeah,
impressionable people.
I understand. I understand. But yeah, the collaborative process is very important for me
Mhm,
because again, that whole back and forth, and I think some of that comes from uh, there's a bit of play in that. You know, I'm not
mhm,
one that says this is my idea and this is just we're going to go forward with it. I don't have that in me. I've always been open to other interpretations of things, other ideas, and sometimes I'll push back and say no, but I think this is better. And that's how it was with Flying Fortress. The whole thing started as just like, wouldn't it be cool if we'd made this comic book? And then it was turned into, oh, I guess we're making this comic book
mhm,
because we had started mulling around this idea, and then it was myself, Andy Moore, and Andy Walker, just two friends of mine,
mhm.
and we were all going to do different parts. And then life does what life does, and one of the Andys had to just go be a dad and just be, make money for his newborn twins. I'm sure you can
Oh my.
relate.
Yes, I can.
And
My
this
goodness.
comic book thing was just a fun thing for him, and
Mhm.
it was never just a fun thing for me. It always was something that I had to do, and so I
Yeah.
put all of my energy into it. And so through all of those 8.5, 9 issues, however you want to put it, with a 0 issue in there,
Mhm.
it was a lot of collaboration, a lot of times like this where Andy Moore and myself would sit on like a phone call and just be like, okay, well, if Glosson, if he gets captured, then this guy, Red's gonna need to come in and do this, and
Yeah.
yeah, but we have this bat. This bat's kind of a character of its own, where the bat gets broken, and then that's a metaphor, and then actually he gets killed, and there's all this stuff, right? A lot of back and forth, and then all of that ends, and Flying Fortress is done.
Yeah.
I'm kind of burnt out on comics because we did everything. And if you do
Yeah.
everything on a comic, it wears you down, it drains your soul um, because it's right layouts, pencils, inks, colors, letters, prepress. Go to
Yeah.
the convention and try to convince people that it's a good book. And they were convinced because it is a good book.
That's right.
Um, all of that ends, and I'm like, well, I don't want to do comics right now, but I still wanted to create. And that's when I got into painting, and then that led back into wanting to do another comic book. And I was like, well, I don't want to do this on my own again. So it was finding another writer to work with, and then that's where
Mhm.
I found Zeb, and then you know Battle Brick Road happened, or at least the inklings of it happened way back in 2017.
I mean, it's unbelievable to me that, the way that you talk about your work and how that stuff, how that went, how you were collaborating, and how you were always kind of the person who was kind of a point person on a lot of these projects. I mean, it's a lot of people view this way, and for people who we try to show it on stream, and at least I certainly always want to. But I wanted to share real quick with people, or maybe less than quick, you never know. But I wanted to share this stuff with people who don't know the breadth of what your capabilities are and how much work you do. I was blown away when I saw this stuff for the first time. For anybody who is wondering what some of Eric's work looks like, this stuff right here is these are some examples of what Eric's digital painting work is like, and it was unbelievable to me when I was seeing these still lives. That is no easy task to do, particularly the label, by the way. Well done. Um,
Thank you.
but this is what we're talking about when we're looking at. I think there are so many skill sets behind what you do and let me just say this: what you see in finished artwork and what we do in the work that we make production wise is usually the tip of the iceberg of our skill sets. And
Mhm.
looking at this stuff, these digital paintings that you do, looking at your lettering is really just one part of the elephant. And seeing what you're doing as a creator, that's outstanding, by the way.
Thank you.
Seeing what you're doing as a creator is absolutely incredible to see. And I feel as though, hang on a second here. I feel as though I missed. Oh no, I didn't skip over it. I was worried I skipped over it because I have to get to this one. I mean, what an outstanding piece. I mean,
Thank you.
that's amazing.
Legit, like one of my first paintings.
Mhm.
Like there may have been, and I mean finished. As far as finished paintings go, I don't know if there were other finished paintings before this. I don't remember the exact timeline of when these things were done. But I started wanting to learn how to digitally paint, and there are tons of resources out there for that. Tons. I mean, this day and age, right? You and this would have been 2016 around
Mhm.
then. So you've got places like there's the Gnomon School. So they had all those DVDs, which I never paid for any. There was Control Paint was a good website about just the basics of learning how to paint in Photoshop. And then what's it called? The Schoolism with Bobby Chu, which is still around. I
Mhm.
dove into that after, I guess, this painting. I was like, I like this portrait stuff.
Yeah.
So I went to school. I didn't go to Schoolism, but I did get one of their courses
Mhm.
with Jason Seiler, the caricature artist, and it was a caricature. Maybe it was a portrait course because he does caricatures, but they're really super detailed. Like they look real, but they're caricatures of real people, and they're super painterly and really gorgeous looking. And he had a
Mhm.
course and just a few of those online lessons. It wasn't even the one-on-one stuff. It was just the videos about learning. Like, oh, this is how you make the eye look real. Copy these eyes, copy these noses. Okay, I got this down. And then I think I did this painting before I did any of that. So it's all a blur, but yeah.
It's beautiful, man. And I think that's the thing for me where when I'm looking at let me see here. How do I do this? There we go. When I'm looking at the stuff that you're doing and the work that you're putting together and sort of the sensitivity of it, you had mentioned with your work, and I mean, looking at Battle Brick Road and seeing this and getting my hands on this book, I do have to take a second to say, for those of you guys wondering, this wonderful patch is one of the beautiful perks that comes with Battle Brick Road. It is. This is going to be a Sean. Like, if I want to take my hat off and have it be a Cecil face reveal, that's the secret under my hat. There's Cecil's face. But this is an incredibly high quality, for those of you guys, patch that is now a permanent fixture on this cap because I'm an actual fan. I'm not a
Oh,
poser. I'm not one of those people, as they say. But what I got with this, which has been incredible to see, is Battle Brick Road, and of course, a lovely, I guess, what would we say, a supplemental? Would we say
supplemental
describe it
book
as
is, yeah, that's what we called it, a supplemental book.
Operation Zephyr right here, which
Mhm.
I would love to show, but you're gonna back the book. No, so
No, you could show stuff.
oh, I intend to.
Yeah.
Rest assured, I'm an actual fan, as I like to say. I'm not one of these Johnny come latelys, these cat's pajamas. I'm using it wrong now.
I think
It's
you are.
that's exactly when in Rome.
When
So,
in Rome.
from
Yes.
Anchorman, that's right. 60%
Yeah.
of the time, it works every time. But
Every
we've got
time.
this outstanding poster here that is, again, my preferred cover on Battle Brick Road. And I don't need to fight Eric right now. I don't need to have an argument here.
Good.
But we've got this bookmark. There is no place like home, and there is no place like Comicsgate, which we're going to get to in a second here. Because honestly, people, it is hard to imagine when you guys are waiting for your books during every kind of supply chain global insanity situation that could be happening right now, and creators in CG are putting these projects together. What I think is amazing. I know you guys appreciate this, and I know you guys are frankly the best backers, the best group of fans, the best group of creatives. There's no place I'd rather be. There's no place like home. You see, let me make myself here if I can figure this out somehow. There we go. These are the cards that you're getting. So who is this? Who's the young artist who did this?
That is a young Dan Frega with colors by Matthew Iacki.
My goodness. And then we have, I think this person needs to go back to school, but who is this person?
Yeah. Kenneth Rockefort, I think is how you pronounce it. Yes. Kenneth Rockefort. The funny thing is that's all it was supposed to be, was a trading card. That's all it was supposed to be for the campaign. And then I was like, this is amazing. So it became a cover as well. But
yeah, I mean, you've inspired a lot of artwork here. And then here we go.
Clayton Barton lines with Giuliano, but I don't know his last name. Jules, as he's called, doing colors.
Absolutely.
He colors Arcathina and Sovereign Wolf. Yeah, Sovereign Wolf.
Yep, beautiful.
And that piece. Yeah.
Oh my stars! Here we go.
And Eric, as your boy Zach calls him, Canete, or however he always says it wrong. It's Eric Canetti with the Watcher of the East.
This is some beautiful glorious stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing. What did you think? I'm just curious. As somebody who, like myself, had those Marvel trading cards, life goal achieved. creating a world.
I did do trading cards for Flying Fortress. So there's a Andrew Huerta card and a Aaron Alfecci card. Both villains from the book, which I thought was pretty cool. So I had dabbled in that with that series, with Flying Fortress. But just having these cards is a whole lot of fun. I'm doing them, differently. I know I like to have the full bleed artwork, and I don't have the stats. They're not superheroes, so it's not like intelligence, strength, and charisma, anything like that. It's just sort of a pull quote from the book and a little blurb of them and who drew it, things like that. But
no, that's not true.
It's really fun.
Your preferred pronouns. So no, sorry, I made that bit up. I made that bit up. That is disavow. I'm lying on about these cards.
Yeah, and preferred pronouns for the apes are little and pretty.
That's exactly right. Yeah, which is that's something, because those things are terrifying, and that's hard to raise the bar on terrifying.
We tried
monkeys, and we've got this sticker. This is the thing, right? And this because you've been involved in more Comicsgate projects than any single creator on the scene. I think that's safe to say. And boy, are we glad, where would we, John, we'll see you in a second. He's always, I want to see my be right back. I always imagine somebody's like in surgery watching the stream, going, hold on a second. I gotta scrub back in. Knife. They're making a mess of this. But this is the thing about it. When you get, when you have a graphic design background, a tech background, a team background, what are we looking at? Do I need to put something on screen? Let me know.
Past Master Dan. My pronouns are italic and Times New Roman.
That's absolutely right. Like my pronouns are sans serif, and this is and what is it? Heffler text. I always pronounce it wrong. I never know how to pronounce that one.
That one's good enough for me,
no, actually, my pronouns are Comic Sans and Papyrus. No, but this is there you go. Sorry. But when I look at
this, I forgot how to leave.
I know exactly. How do I exit? I have to say this though. When you order Comicsgate projects, and you've been around as long as any of us have probably been around in Comicsgate, you see a lot of projects fulfill. You see some projects that I'm sure there are, but not as many as one would think. But projects fulfill, some projects that don't fulfill. But you have been involved in probably more projects that have fulfilled than any creator. You are sort of the person who was working with the writer and the artist on a lot of these projects to get the look. And now fulfilling your own project. Was there pressure for you? Because there's so much that comes in these backer perks. Who are you looking to for inspiration? Because you put together something great. Like, what was the pressure like? I want to make sure that when you're in the fulfillment zone, right, you want people to get something that's beautiful. I think you've done that. But what were
Yeah.
you thinking about putting this stuff together?
Keeping up with the first campaign I did with Flying Fortress, that had almost double what you just showed off. There were 2 trading cards, a bookmark, 3 prints with the Ted Lehman Gunner print, the Billy Tucci print, and then one of the cover with myself and Kyle Ritter colors. There were 6 postcards. There was a couple other things, a patch and something else. It was a flood of extras, and so I was like, going into Battle Brick Road, I was like, I don't just want to have like a print, because that just feels like, compared to what I did last time, it's a big deal, or it's a big difference. And so there was a lot of just sort of looking back at what I had already done and thinking, well, I at least need to get something comparable. And I feel like we did that. I feel like we did great, because with Flying Fortress, there were 8. It was like 7 or 8 years worth of material that I could draw from. The book was done. The whole series was done, outside of the relettering and some remastering of the artwork, when we put that together. So it was like a lot of easy things to say. Oh, wait, I've been doing this conventions for 8 years. So I have all these prints and I have all this and that. And so it was easy to just pull from that. Whereas this, it's like, okay, well, I want to have trading cards, but if I don't have postcards, because that sort of worked for the theme of Flying Fortress, they'd send postcards back home. It was that whole thing. And they're all bomber pinup, nose art things. And so there was a lot of trying to, again, make something comparable. So it was a lot more trading cards, a double-sided bookmark this time with artwork on both sides, and the prints and all of that. So and I had done which I'm going to do after fulfillment is done with Battle Brick Road, for Flying Fortress. I did an after fulfillment survey where I emailed all the backers and said, hey, filled out this survey. And it was like, how satisfied are you with the art and the story and all that stuff. And then it went down into the campaign itself, and like, what perks did you like the most and the least? And patches came out on number 1. People loved the patch.
Yep.
So that's why I went and made a patch.
I'm living proof.
Yeah, that's why I went with the patch. I was not going to do it this time, but people were like, "Yeah, the patch was great," so went ahead forward with that. So yeah, that's all the extras right there.
I'm silently contextualizing what you're saying. But you look at us going, look at folks, peoples of Walmart, peoples everywhere, peoples. I still want to know if there's some kind of long-lasting discount you have from working at McDonald's, because actually McDonald's is my blood type. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
I'm an exact match for McDonald's. But when I'm looking at the stuff you do, and you're a infuriatingly humble creator friend, like, to quote the great Javier Bardem in Skyfall, it's exhausting. The reality is that you're prolific, you're driven, you're hardworking, you're creative, you can paint, you can graphic design. Sorry, this is like, the scene from Airplane. Calm down, get a hold of yourself. Sorry, this is the version with compliments. You can paint, you can letter, you can graphic design, you come up with story ideas, you can collaborate with people, and you are probably one of the most honest people in CG. And I've seen that from you as someone who's gotten to know you over CG team. But this is the thing about this book that is so exciting to me, looking at everything you do here, all the work that you're doing, is you are now with Battle Brick Road in rarefied air of nearing 6 figures on this campaign. And regardless or irregardless, because as we all know, in the same thing, right? Flammable and inflammable. It's like one of those things, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that it's like, oh, well, like this has to happen. But I mean, I don't even want to answer this because I'm just going to get angry. I wonder sometimes if you are aware, and do not respond, like you have a right to remain silent here, if you're aware of, I know you're I know you have gratitude for it. I know that Comicsgate basically was, within your case, where tons of preparation met opportunity in what has become your career in Comicsgate. But I think that I must point out that as I see the new work you're doing for Downcast, as I see this jump from where you were, right, with Flying Fortress, and then where you are in this issue, and then I see the new pages coming out from the Battle Brick Road Downcast stuff that you're working on, you have been taking this very, wide sort of view of what art can be, and rather than limiting that down, I feel like you're improving across the board at everything, and that's the only way you get work with the richness you've got here. Again,
It's
apology.
the only way that I can function.
Irrelevant, Your Honor. It's it's a compliment.
Objection, hearsay.
Yeah, exactly. Objection, downplaying the witness's ability. But you've got to this point where your work, your painterly nature now is coming into the pages on the project you're doing for Clint. There's a sense of compositional play that is already great in Battle Brick Road, and it's a brilliant sense of layout and pacing. But that's even jumped and is now getting the painting aspect into it. Can we share some do you have any Downcast images we can share of what we can? Or I know Clint's
Yeah. Let me.
Because I want you guys to see this, because I know you guys tune in here for great artwork, and thankfully we have someone here who actually makes some today, so that's good. And so I want them to see the stuff you're doing, because guys, I remember Jim getting into Jim Lee's X-Men, then getting into his Punisher run and stuff like that, and you just go back and you want to go back into people's work and go, I want to see where this happened. And you keep hoping there's going to be that terrible Jim Lee work you get back to. And you're like, no, it's good all the way back.
His Alpha Flight stuff isn't great. So it's there, but it was like he did Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he wasn't Jim Lee.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Uncanny and he does the Punisher. And it's like, it was there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, it felt like, and I didn't see it as it happened, because that stuff happened,
Sure.
and I was a toddler when he was doing this. So, but looking back, you go back in the issues and you see it like, it was like something clicked and he just hit his stride, and he stayed in that style, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of artists stay in the pocket. But he has certainly, there was some ramp up to what you saw in, like X-Men #1. But
I learned about
the ramp went real quick. It went real fast. You got because his Alpha Flight stuff was his first work in Marvel. It was not great, and then all of a sudden it was like,
so
to me, perfection at the time. Yeah.
Here's something that Gabe was talking to me about after the stream, because he had David Williams working with him on a layout, and David Williams goes, that giant jump in that Punisher stuff that Jim Lee took? It was because Carl Potts was helping him with the layouts. And all of these artists, the mentoring process that went on behind the scenes, right? Editors were helping, I forget who, I'm blanking on it right now, who was helped Arthur Adams with that great X-Men layout with all the characters that's famous that Arthur Adams did. Yeah. Arthur Adams has helped people with layouts. David Williams has been helped by layouts. David Williams helps people with layouts. We pass this stuff down. And that's what's beautiful. Carl Potts was a real mentor. That mentoring of talent that you see here in CG. And what, unfortunately or fortunately, it leads to is, holy shnikey, as the late Chris Farley would say, some of the best darn fantasy and world building that you're going to see this side of the 90s, this side of the 60s, this side of the golden ages in comics. So what are we looking at here?
This is some Downcast 4. It'll be part of Chapter 9 in the single issue stuff. Mm-hmm. So this is a Monstro story that I'm doing for Clint. It's a 20-page, I think he called it a flashback sequence. So I don't know where I don't know where it flashes back to or how far or whatever, but it's Monstro. I did the cover
Enhance,
for Downcast
magnify.
3.
Enhance, magnify, please.
I went down to let me.
Sorry. Forgive me, Eric.
I did the Downcast 3 cover for Clint.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the Monstro character to draw,
Mhm.
drawing the Monstro character. So he was talking about wanting to do a Monstro side, like a side story. It has changed from that, but it was originally like a mini series or something. And he
Mhm.
was looking at having one artist do all three, but he couldn't get an artist to commit to 60. So then he broke it up and he asked me to do it. And I was like, you know what? I was done with drawing Battle Brick Road. I was just waiting for it. See, there it is. I was done drawing Battle Brick Road and, just sort of waiting on the colorist and printers and, twiddling my
Mhm.
thumbs. I wasn't twiddling my thumbs. I was working on Battle Brick Road 2, but I thought, you know what? It'd be fun to work on this project with Clint. So yeah,
Look at
because I
those
love the
tones,
character.
too.
They're
so good, man.
And they're not even done. I'm going to go back in and like really tone it up. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is sort of first pass. It's like, okay, these are like, if I don't get to the tones all the way, these pages are done. So I want it to be at a stage where if I'm ahead of schedule right now, and if I can stay ahead of schedule, then I can go back through and really put the whatever this thing is with the salt, that meme, I can do that to these pages.
Heck yeah.
And really kind of give it the feel, give it the business.
Eric.
So,
Wow.
yes.
Guys, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the how other people are view it, because again, when you're in Comicsgate and you're jumping on board these books like we all are, that we're still looking at, in many ways, the start of this artist's career, any artist's career. But the jump that I see from Flying Fortress to this, you really start to see on so many of these panels your compositional language getting more and more sophisticated. And I think whatever the groove is that you've been finding, it's now had another huge jump.
Yeah.
Huge jump here. This is fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel like I've when I'm looking at my artwork, I obviously, as an artist, you see all of the flaws in it that nobody else sees. But I use that maybe subconsciously as a way to always strive to get better, because I always look at it and I think this is really good, but I know it can get better, and I've been doing that for a long time, and I think I don't want to stop doing that. So hopefully, I mean, I have said this, like people have said, your work in Flying Fortress compared to Battle Brick Road is a huge leap. I want people to look at Battle Brick Road Book 1 and Battle Brick Road Book 2 and say the same thing, because I mean, I don't want to rest on my laurels. I don't want to just use the shortcuts and use the hip pocket. Like I just pull that out. I always use this trick. I want to strive. I constantly strive to do better, layout wise, line wise, painting, what have you. I always want to improve, and maybe I'm just naive and
No,
I don't know, but I always want to grow. I always want to just, not that I'm dissatisfied with my work, because I'm not. I look at these pages and I'm like, yeah, we're getting it, we're there. But I don't want to say, I don't want to ever just be like, all right, my style, I've reached it, I'm there, and if I just stay here, we're good. I always want to get better.
Yeah, and I think we've got Art T-Bear and Hail Art T-Bear in the chat, and we were just saw some senior praises here from Stephen Rockwood drawing. But let me say this too, is that when I look at Black and White and the work that Art's doing on that book, I think it is next level work. I think every artist working in Comicsgate, I think Ethan's work on Cyberfrog is next level work. And Kenneth Rocafort is opening his third and fourth eye now, and unlocking worlds. We don't know what's happening there. But when I look at the stuff that seriously, when I look at this stuff, one of the joys of being in Comicsgate, one of the joys of backing these books and books like Battle Brick Road, guys. And again, if any mods can throw the link to Battle Brick Road, which is so close, to six figures, guys. Like I just want us to be getting that word out, and anybody who can get that word out. But this is the biggest thing about it is that it's much more like what you see internationally in comics. Mobius or creators like that, people didn't say, oh, well, he's not going to keep improving because he's past that point. All of these creators around the world are always doing their best work on the next project. They're always growing, which is very, much what you would expect, going back to the Renaissance. And when you look at the stuff that you're doing here, I don't think, like, the second art book I did, I think was more sophisticated and better than the first art book, although I love both books. There's a difference between it being good and improving, right? And then thinking, oh, that wasn't good, and I'm going to go up from there. It's one thing when you get to look at these layouts, look at the sophistication of these layouts. Can we build a time machine, Eric? And I'm no scientist, okay, but I do know what a dog is. I want to point that, never mind. Yeah. I'm no scientist here, but could we build a time machine? What age would be the ideal age, by the way, to build a time machine and take this artwork that Eric Weathers is doing now for maximum impact to show it to a young Eric Weathers and have him just go, my mind is blown, dream achieved. Like, can you imagine?
Junior year of high school. That's what it is. That's when I was like, I'm doing it. And I was drawing. And it wasn't great, but I was doing it. And
now you get to come back and say, it's great, and I did it, and I'm continuing to do it.
Yeah. Keep doing it. You don't have to play as many video games as you think you do.
Yeah.
So
well, but let's be clear. You were incredibly imaginative. You were going outside a lot, but you were also playing video games, and it would seem to me that they failed to stunt your creativity. So what were the video games? Because you see a lot of comics. I know there's folks who play video games, and they do refer to themselves as folks. They self-identify as folks. Mm-hmm. Who play video games. What were the games? There've got to be people who are new to CG who are seeing this interview, learning about Battle Brick Road and saying, I've got to move that. I've got to go back that book, which is in the link is in the description. It's the first link at the top of the description here. But what are the video games that have inspired you? Was there I'm sure that we've seen the technology change so much in our lives, but Mortal Kombat you've brought up, but even going further, what's the stuff that speaks to you now and has?
Well, I'd say now I look at video games a little bit differently. There are times when you just veg out and you just play because you just want to relax. But I look at video games as a means to an end these days. It's not necessarily let me relax. It's what can I pull from it? Because there's so much art that goes into these things that it's all inspiration for me. When I am looking at what to buy, what to try, what have you, it's very much like this. The art style in this speaks to me in some way, whether it's just the overall aesthetic of a game, something like God of War, where the setting is informing all of the design choices. I mean, every game should be like that, but not all of them are. That you have this Norse setting, and there's all these gods and these buildings and these worlds and lands, and just the way that games are built these days. There's a whole lot more attention to detail put into all of these things. So I look at games like that now as a window into maybe another artist's mind, or at least a group of artists, art director's mind, I guess you would say, because they're the ones helming the ship, and just seeing like, where can I grab what out of here can I grab pieces of and say that's mine now, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this over here, and I'm grabbing it from this and that. So nowadays, that's what games are like for me most of the time. But I do play for fun. Growing up, Sega Genesis, so it was Sonic, Streets of Rage 2, Mortal Kombat. And then I never really owned Nintendos ever, except for now.
I was hoping we could keep this out of religion and politics, Eric. And now
it always developed
headlong into Nintendo, the Sega battle. Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead.
But after that, it was PlayStation, and then very soon after PlayStation 1, it was just basically Resident Evil. And then PC gaming that's when that started for me. So, it's when shooters started. So I had Wolfenstein 3D and Duke Nukem, and
Oh yeah.
ran it all those. I was heavily, still am pretty heavily into shooters. Battlefield back in the day was my jam. So I played 1942. Even started making a mod for it that kind of fell apart because it was way more work than I would have expected. And also I joined the army, so kind of ran out of the ability to do that. And then
I need that on a shirt, by the way. Eric Weathers, way more work than you expected. Like, you've done way more work than any of us ever expected. I was recreationally
maybe.
building an airplane, still can't get it off the ground.
I
but,
can't. Yeah, it doesn't fly.
God.
And then when I was in the army, I had a buddy of mine. When we weren't jamming out to Metallica covers in his garage, we were playing World of Warcraft, and then that probably set me back a few years artistically because that consumed me. But now I look at, or maybe not now, but 08, 10, 08, 10, around that time, I was really enthralled with just the art style that Blizzard had. They had a certain aesthetic, at least for their separate universes. Diablo had this dark and mysterious and broody, Brahm painted aesthetic, and Warcraft is, whimsical-ish, but fantasy and kind of.
I love.
I don't want to use the word cartoony, but it has that. I mean, the style was so prolific that anything that looked remotely like it was called it was a WoW style. Just kind of the way they integrated that painted look into the whole.
Had a vitality and a sense of play to it too. Do you know what I mean? It was alive.
Yeah, and it's StarCraft had the tech thing going. I was never really into StarCraft, but the Blizzard sort of atmosphere was there. But WoW was certainly a big thing, and it would always creep back up and pull me back in from time to time. But it's just kind of, it's hard for me to play games now because I'm so busy and I feel guilty. Feel guilty, but I've been playing
because you feel like go there, Eric.
I do. I feel like I should be working or something, or No,
I know. I think it's really funny.
But we all go there. We all feel guilty when we're enjoying our time off.
Yeah.
But
I'm here to make sure this time off feels like work.
I started playing the Lord of the Rings game, the latest one, which is several years old at this point. But Shadow of War, that's what I'm running through now, just killing orcs.
Nice.
And even with games, to me, it's never about the story. It's about what's cool about it, and what's cool about it is just running through and slicing and dicing. So.
And you said you were. Let me
Did
just
I answer your question?
Yes, you did. And yet again, I have to ask this question. So you said you were jamming out to Metallica covers. Is that what you said?
That's what I said.
So do you play an instrument as well?
Yeah, I do.
I'm tired, Eric. I'm tired of heaping praise and yet not tired. I feel like I'm Tom Hanks in Lady Killers. I'm tired of heaping praise and yet not tired, if I may propose a riddle. We must have waffles forthwith, everyone. So what instrument do you play?
Play the guitar.
Okay. So
I play the guitar.
He's a triple threat.
I played percussion growing up in school band. I never got good at playing a drum set, or the kit as they called it. But I flocked to the guitar again because it was cool. So it's been 25 years, I suppose. I've known how to play the guitar for 25 years. I haven't consistently played the guitar for 25 years. But yeah,
Eric
I have
more work than you would imagine.
There's too much going. There's too much to do. But I want to be the next Art T. Bear as well. I want to learn the drums, but I don't have a drum set to learn on, and I don't feel like beating up my pillows with cooking spoons. Yeah, I feel like a
Yeah,
almost
art
40-year-old
seconds
man. That's
that.
maybe not the way to do it.
Art is supportive of that. He encourages it here in the chat.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I mean, this is for me when I'm looking, and I love this is I think one of my favorite pages I've seen you do because
It's
it
not even done,
speaks
so
to.
don't it might turn out like hot garbage, but in the end, but at least the cool
Let
pose
me
is
do the
there.
selling, please. Let me do the selling on my show. Yeah, it's this is the thing, folks. Have I exposed the humility of this man enough during this interview? Like, have I exposed of the beautiful humble quality we have here? When I look at this page, I know it was you knew I was going somewhere painful, so I apologize.
Mhm.
You were right to try to stop me. I am taken back to, and I know that time, and I know what is. You know how when people have artists from that time and they're trying to do something inspired by them, but it's the surface, it's not the soul of what's being done there. To put it simply, like how many people have done a Jim Lee pose or a Todd McFarlane pose, and you look at it and you go, "That's a Jim Lee, someone trying to do a Jim Lee pose or a Todd McFarlane pose." Do you know what I mean? And I've done it
Yeah.
myself. When I look at this feels like the spirit of that captured by an artist. And if I saw this when I was at that same point, was 16, height of my young comic thing, I would have said, "This is the coolest thing in the world. I need an action figure of this character. This is the Wolverine I'm going to be playing when we go out." And we'd all be fighting
Yeah.
over being this character. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, there's something special about Scarecrow. Um, the second people see him, they're like, "That's awesome," and that's what I want. That's that cool factor, and
Yeah.
it clicked. As Clint will say that Tin Man is what he's drawn to, but
Mhm.
Clint's not like the rest of us. In the worst way
Clint,
possible, he's not like the rest of us.
a Clint's love is very different than that of a square. The thing about it is, yeah, it's a really cool looking character, and I love seeing this process stuff. I know people say this to me and they ask me to do it, but remember, I am as sincere and humble as Eric is. I am that much. Apparently, my hypocrisy knows no bounds. But as people ask me to do a layout version of my books or process versions of my books, which I will get to, funding and backers willing, I look at this and I go, man, I love seeing it. Like, I hope you're saving it or somehow doing some documentation of it at its various stages. Because I do think, and suddenly I saw Eric do that, stare into the middle distance and think, but if you haven't yet, please feel free to begin.
Yeah,
It's beautiful to see this stuff with the underdrawing and with the way that you rough it in. I'm starting to feel your painter's sensibility in your would we call it line artwork, in your, let's say, illustration right now with
okay.
this. And it's really amazing how, like, those graphic forms are coming together, and that the rendering is just adding that extra kick, which all those great guys that we grew up on, you would see that they'd say, "These are my rough thumbnails," and you're like, "I would buy those." Like,
Yeah,
the whole energy of it is there. But that
yeah,
is so great, man. So many people asking about, yeah, What About has a great line right there, which is, "This is when you've got it working." And What About, "Thank you for this is so accurate. I can just imagine his voice sounding badass." And that's when you've created a drawing that's come to life. Yeah, absolutely. Hey Ladies Made Consumer, my toy brother there. And it's look at these. Yeah, Scarecrow needs a one shot. Agreed.
yeah.
Let the pros talk, Eric, about promotion. Yeah. Guys, look, I have a purely selfish interest in this man's success, which is I want more of his artwork, and I think that beautiful artwork, inspiring artwork, is needed in the world to make it a better place. And that is something that Eric Weathers is doing and has been doing. And what I think about it is that if you think about your starts as an artist and an illustrator, the environment, the things like Indiegogo, YouTube, the ability to go straight to the fans and promote weren't there. And from probably seeing some of my past work, right, on the show the other night, that I'm in a very similar boat with how things are.
Mhm.
And I am so thankful that I get to be alive and collecting comics and creating comics in the time we're in, and backing books in the time we're in, where I get to see things like this. And I keep wondering how many other amazing things like this are out there, but haven't had the opportunity, or have in the past been out there and haven't had the opportunity to see the light of day, like we're seeing with Battle Brick Road right now, and Flying Fortress for that matter. This is great. This is such a great time.
It is a great time because we're seeing new stuff.
Mhm.
You know, it's not another issue of Batman or whatever. It's new stuff.
Mhm.
You know, we look at Downcast is a new story that doesn't exist without Clint being here at this time.
Yeah.
You know, same with Monster MD. Well, Vaughn would still be making comics no matter what.
He's a
In
hurricane.
some way.
Yeah.
But I mean, Lucent wouldn't be around,
Yeah.
you know. Even I mean, you've got the momentum, the size, the orbit, whatever you want to call it, of CG is bringing books to life that you would never see, you know?
Yeah.
Like Butch Cleaver and Perfect 10 and I mean, there's hundreds of books out there that I'm just trying to, Narwhal, whatever he's doing. Would we be seeing that now? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great to see the creative force that is coming out of what we're doing here, and some of it's good, some of it's not so good, some of it's mediocre, but some of it is the cream that rises to the top.
Absolutely.
And when the dust settles, those books will be there as like, wow, when I was growing up, did you guys remember, NOSFERO? Do you remember Battle Brick Road? So hopefully
And they'll
we're
say, I
a
remember
part of
Battle
that.
Brick Road. But I don't remember. Sounds foreign, this Nosfero. But it's I got to speak to this real quickly, because this is something that I think you'll appreciate as a fan. And I want to point this out. I thought I made this clear. I have to address this here, because funny listening to Shanti's Eric about having a praise allergy. Again, I believe I said my hypocrisy knows no bounds. It is what it is. But I did something I haven't done in forever. I haven't done this since I was a kid. I ordered a short box to store my Comicsgate books in. And it was sort of like a thing that was so important to me at one point that I was like, I got so disconnected from that joy of collecting all these books. And I didn't realize how much it was going to affect me when I just hit order on the short box and thought, I have so many comics from creators and artists in the indie scene here in Comicsgate that I respect. And there's now enough of these things. We've been fulfilling so many projects that I need a short box to put this stuff in, so I can reach over and go through this stuff and just enjoy it, instead of having it in, perilous stacks, with all my art books, that I can have this stuff stored how I want it to be stored. And it's so great to see these projects coming together. And there has not been a time like this. I would say there's never been a time like this, but in terms of the creative energy that's behind CG right now, and all of the new characters that you're seeing, I don't think it's ever been this great.
Not this widespread.
This impressive. Yeah.
Right. Not this widespread. There are pockets of it where these things will happen, but it will be a localized scene. There will be artists that did the indie thing, but it was localized. So you think about, like, Robert Kirkman is one of those stories where he was doing that local thing with just him and his friends. Like, he and Tony Moore went to school together. They were chums, as they say, and they created The Walking Dead together. And now Robert Kirkman is, it's an empire with Skybound Comics. Yes. So there were moments with that, but again, very just here and there around the country, around the world. But this is like this global phenomenon. We've got
it is
here in the United States, we've got CG UK, we've got our Brothers Down Under.
Yep.
We're trying to get into that Antarctic market, but you never
Exactly.
know. I mean, the scientists aren't, it's kind of a technical issue, but it truly is a global, albeit in the grand scheme of all entertainment, small, but it is a global movement, this Comicsgate thing. And to have all of this stuff happening with collaborations, and I've worked on books from creators all over the flat, hollow donut Earth.
Exactly.
And it's fantastic to be a part of.
With regards to Antarctica, I just want to say someone needs to remind those penguins who won the war, for starters. And then
That's
the next
right.
thing I want to say about that is, and this is the big thing about this, and I've said this to Michael Bancroft, I've said this to so many of the people I'm lucky enough to have as artist brothers. Your role and your contributions to Comicsgate, I don't think can be overstated, in the sense that you have been, as a letterer, you have been providing the voice of so many of these books that we've taken to heart, and so much of this great work. And I am very, very grateful for, as I get to know you more and as we talk about these kinds of things, for every step of that journey, every seeming detour that has now come back around and led to you being able to have all of the life experience, all of the training, all of the years of dedication, learning on your own, all of the daydreaming, the running around and imagining things, playing video games, whatever it took, all of the collaborations. And I'm sure people who've affected you as an artist by what they've brought to the game and their different perspectives, to end up at the point we're at right now, where there is no doubt in my mind, having, received Battle Brick Road. And again, link in the description, guys. And it's so funny. I didn't even know this was you when I got this cover for Downcast. I just want to make sure that's clear there.
And let's give props to Kelsey Shannon for the beautiful color work he did on the cover there too.
No, I'm tired of giving props to Kelsey. No, I'm kidding. I love Kelsey Shannon stuff. A fellow Frazetta and Bond S&A fan. Hail Kelsey Shannon. It's just a brilliant, just again, our roster of skilled people in CG is an impressive roster. It's a very deep roster. There's no bench warmers in here, and I look at this stuff, and good to see you, American Comics Company. I have to say it. You're always in good company when American Comics Company's in the chat. And I see all of this different stuff that you're doing, and I go, wait, Eric Weathers did this. Eric Weathers did this, and then when I heard my kids come home, my wife goes, so speaking of Eric Weathers, there's something I have to tell you about the kids. I'm still waiting to see what that is. A little.
I don't know what she's talking about.
I don't know what she's talking about anyway, but the kids are 15. About 15 years ago, she was in Kansas, I don't know, for some business trip, she says. But the thing that I'm sure it was nothing. But but this is the thing about who? I'm sorry, I never get names when I'm working. It's one of these things, meanwhile, we cut to a shot of Clint Stoker. Dun dun dun. No, but
he visits Kansas every once in a while.
He does, but it's I love the stuff that you're doing, and I love the fact that seeing you do the work you're doing with Clint on Downcast right now, and getting that kind of double dose of Eric Weathers, where you get to see your jump that you're having on the sequel to Battle Brick Road. Guys, do not miss this campaign. I know it feels like, oh, this campaign's been up for a while, now we're in fulfillment, but do not miss it. Every single time when Kenneth Roquefort's book came out, and everybody was like going, oh, I should have backed that. Like it's a series of me either realizing that I thought I backed something and I didn't, which is a nightmare scenario, right? Or going, oh, thank God I backed that. And with this book, when I met you, I thought I had backed it ages ago, and I backed it. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I've been there rough. With projects of my projects I've been interested in on my own. You're like, where's my backer number? Oh, I don't have one. Yeah, there's, you speak about you talked about. Let me toot my own horn a little bit, if you'll
Please.
Allow it, if it pleases the court. With you say I have been on a lot of projects, and I have, but I think a lot of people know me as the letterer, as they should, because that's what I do. And wow, you draw Battle Brick Road, that's great. But I also have done, I don't actively do it, but there were a few books that I've done pre-press for. There are a few books I've done trading card layout for and logo design for. Like the Downcast logo is my logo. I created that.
Right
The
on.
little graveyard shift logo, I created that as well. The ash cans that come in. So
Mhm.
now with me drawing more, I have to sort of, cut back on some of that stuff. Let's just focus on lettering and drawing, and maybe do a logo here or there. Maybe do, depends on schedule. But there was a lot of stuff I had my fingers in, a lot of pies. These analogies kind of get weird when I say them out loud. So yeah, I have been around. I mean, seemingly from the beginning, at least in terms of the creator movement, because John wanted a letter for Graveyard Shift, and I raised my hand and put in I wouldn't even call it a portfolio piece because it wasn't in my portfolio. I made it specifically for that. Um, so that, and then that led to your boy, and I mean, it's kind of all she wrote. Now I'm working
Mhm.
with all creators, big and small, from like I just finished lettering Martina's book, Lady Alchemy, and working
Yep.
on Wrecked Planet. So it's like tons of tons of projects that I work on outside of CG too. I've had people reach out needing lettering for books that aren't necessarily Comicscape books, and I'll happily work on them. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that um, your I hadn't heard of this Wrecked Planet book or whatever, but I'm sure it's got potential. The
it's a
thing.
common it don't think of I don't know if it does. It's one of those
Mhm.
political books. It's all about like
Mm.
the what we have done to the planet as the human race. It's like,
Exactly,
pollution and,
an environmental
cobalt
tale.
strip mine. Yeah.
It's exactly
That's
that. That's what many of us figured, and I know that there's a huge amount of donations, by the way, to that corporation by penguins in
mhm.
Antarctica, who, as you know, never learned who won that war. But I want to say this too, is that and guys in the and gals in the chat, we've got anytime a creator gives this kind of time for an interview like this and to talk about their work, especially someone who is demonstrably as busy as Eric Weathers is, and who, probably also conducts an orchestra. There's a lot of things I'm sure he's left out that he does. Competitive jet ski racing, all of this stuff. It's one of those things to where we get a look inside of the work, and for people who are new to Comicsgate and are saying, I want to learn about these books, and I want to get some time with these creators, this is a resource, and I want you guys to share this stuff out, because I think that um, Battle Brick Road is a book that needs to be seen by a lot of people. I think it has a ton of appeal. I think it is the way that it takes as its basis this very important part of the Western canon and fantasy and imaginative work, and then brings it into this new territory of very, um, you know, uh, imaginative, but also, what's the word I'm looking for here? It has this kind of vitality and intensity to it. When you see a drawing like
Mhm.
that of Scarecrow, it feels like it feels like the energy of what the comic book greats did, what Jack Kirby was able to do, what the people who were able to move this media forward do. And it's tied to something that so many people, part of our narrative culture, that so many people have a deep connection to. And the same thing goes with the work on Downcast. You guys are getting in on the ground level on this stuff. I have no doubt in my mind that people are going to be talking about getting these books in their initial print runs, getting these books in the early days of CG as being this formative thing. And unlike Image Comics, these are things that are going to be, by their very nature, scarce and hard to come by.
Mhm.
And so I always think, and tell people, back these books now, because you aren't going to regret it. They are here. They exist. These books are
Yep.
present, and they are shipping in spite of all
Shipping
of the
right
crazy
now.
right now. I
I'm
know that
looking
that
at
camera pan
mountains
must
of
be
stuff ready
terrifying.
to. Yeah, it's can I do it? Is there anything uncouth?
I know
There's the
that's right.
fulfillment station there over there.
That is
So
a lot. Yeah, you were like, is there anything uncouth, and then you pan over and Amber Heard's just sitting there, in her cold, icy stare, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, she's working on Battle Brick Road. And hey, what's
No.
up, Matthew Fowler? Great to see you, my friend. And yeah, look at that,
It is
guys. It is real. I am living proof, and it is one of those things that when you're looking at this artwork, guys, and you're seeing this incredible stuff. We appreciate you guys backing these books, and I think if you do you have anything else you want to add? You want to add about these projects and what you have coming? You've got your shows. Let's pitch those.
My YouTube channel, youtube.com. Just search for Eric Weathers, where I do the occasional lettering how-to video, but most of the time we just live stream Tuesday nights. Myself, Clint Stoker, Von Klaus, Rob Arnold, and this man above me with that beautiful hat on, Sean Tangetti. We call ourselves the CG team.
Link to the YouTube right now is in the description. Everybody subscribe if you haven't yet and get that stuff out there. Go ahead. Sorry, Eric.
Vaughn and I have another show we do called Gentlemen Scoundrels, which is a much older show. But it's kind of, we're changing the format up a bit, and I'm in fulfillment mode. So it happens to be on a day where I usually am packing and signing. So it's coming back. Not that it ever went away. It's just sort of, but yeah, we do that on Fridays. And then, like I said, the occasional lettering video. I always want to do more with that. I want to, have the instruction out there for anybody that wants to do it on their own, because I think it's important to learn how to do this kind of stuff. No matter what you do as a comic book creator, I think it's important to learn how all of it's done, because maybe I just think that because that's what I did. But doing something on your own from start to finish, even if you can't draw or can't write or whatever, give it a shot anyways. So you might surprise yourself. I didn't know that I liked lettering until I needed a letterer for Flying Fortress, and I said, well, I have a computer. I can do that. So it turns out I fell in love with it. So, and I ended up hating coloring. So there you go. You find out what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at. In terms of promotion, battlebrickroad.com is the place to buy Battle Brick Road. Or back the projects, and will always be the place to back the project. So when we're on to Battle Brick Road 2, which is some of the artwork you see sharing on the screen here, I'll just be saying battlebrickroad.com for that. Flying Fortress is still available. I have about 6 copies left in a short box over there on the shelf, with all those beautiful extras you saw earlier in the stream. Eric Weathers.
Yeah, you have 5 copies of that left. That's right. Yeah. You have 5 copies left.
Yeah,
is what you were saying.
So you can grab that. I literally do. I have just a handful left, and it won't be reprinted. So that was the first print run, and that's all we're doing. So there's no more Flying Fortress after this, but it is a fantastic story of a B-17 crew on a top secret mission to bomb Hitler, and they crash land in the Middle Ages. And that's just kind of how it starts. So it's a great story, just fun adventure, sort of like Indiana Jones kind of thing. But check that out if you want to do that as well. Twitter.com/Eric_Weathers is my Twitter handle. I'm on Instagram, same thing. I don't know. I'm on Twitch, Eric Weathers Art. I'm all over the place. ArtStation. We saw that on ArtStation. Just Google my name. I'm the artist, not the pastor in Texas. There's another Eric Weathers out there. He's a pastor in Texas. But that's
nephew
not me.
of Carl
I live
Weathers.
In Kansas. Yes, uncle. Yeah, Carl Weathers, my uncle. I don't know if he knows that, but it's true.
Exactly.
No matter how much biology may disagree.
Yeah.
So.
and guys, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. I the stuff that you're doing, and this is the best part about Comicsgate. Like, we used to have to wait for Wizard Magazine. Getting to see these behind the scenes sketches. Do you know what I mean? Do you remember when you get that like 72 DPI micro image of like Stephen Platt is working on Prophet now, and you were trying to squint to see what you could see?
Yeah.
You guys are here, right? With fly on the wall as we create these books. You're seeing work that is the next level stuff, and it's coming out soon. The work you're doing with Clint, the work you're doing on Battle Brick Road 2, man. I will tell you this, man. I am so glad that we met. I am so grateful for Comicsgate and finding my artist brothers. And it has been, thank you for this time with me. I'm very grateful for you taking time out of your day to have this lengthy conversation. I may have promised would be about an hour, but it never works.
It never
when
is.
when I start talking to artists. And I know we're going to do this again, but guys, go back Battle Brick Road. It's on the Battle Brick Road to Six Figures. And if you don't mind hanging around just so I could say, hey, after this real quick, you game for that? We'll do that, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hail the chat. Hi, Comicsgate. Hail Comicsgate. And thank you, Eric Weathers, for being here. Back Battle Brick Road to 100K. And guys, we are going to see you guys very, very soon. So everybody take care.
Battle Brick Road. The Battle Brick Road to 100K begins now. You're not in Kansas anymore. Wait, what? Eric Weathers literally lives in Kansas? The Battle Brick Road to 100K. You're not in Kansas anymore. But Eric Weathers is. Be a part of it. Let's make it happen. The Battle Brick Road to 100K. We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge. Battle Brick Road, only on Indiegogo.
Here's a little something for you busters. Yeah.
You're not even learning anything on the street.
Yeah.
You think I'm stupid, son?
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say to you, boy?
Yeah.
Do you?
What's up with that?
Look at me, damn it!
Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack. What's up with
You
that?
smoke crack, don't you?
Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack.
Look at me, boy!
Hey to
You
you,
smoke crack, don't you?
don't even smoke crack.
You know what that does to you? Huh? You smoke crack, don't you?
Smoke crack.
Go on and do it expeditiously.
What's up with that?
It kills your brain cells, son. It kills your brain cells.
Don't even smoke crack.
No nut, huh?
I apologize. I forgot you were there. You may go now.